Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank you for having this hearing today on this very important topic. You know, I go home every weekend. I travel my district. I talk to my constituents as much as possible. I get, and I've been inundated with calls and mail from my constituents who are deeply concerned about the implementation of the Affordable Care Act. And lately, the news reports about this implementation have focused on the website. As my colleague said, it's been a disaster. A lot of attention has been focused on the premium increases. North Carolina has been hit harder than most states. Women in our state can expect their rates to triple. Men can expect them to quadruple on average. So a lot of attention has been given to that problem. And then we've heard a lot about loss of coverage. I was talking to a husband in Rockingham the other day whose wife has an acute illness, and their doctors told them that under the Affordable Care Act, he's no longer going to offer them care. And so these are huge problems, but I think what's been lost in all this are these issues, this important issue of security of our private information. I mean, we have an unprecedented collection of data that the government is undertaking now of personal information. It's unprecedented that the government will be collecting these types of information through one process. And so it's important that we talk about this and we examine the issues here. I'm disappointed that our witnesses, I appreciate y'all being here. I appreciate the job you do. It's disappointing, though, that DHS isn't able to answer questions about this website, that DHS doesn't have a working understanding of how the security parameters of this website were set up. It's deeply troubling to me that HHS, CMS hasn't asked the folks who are the experts in this, Secretary Stimpley's organization, to help with this implementation. Why wouldn't you go to the experts when you've got a huge problem? Especially when one of the architects of this website said, quote, that there are limitless potential for security risks. These are the folks building the website have said this is a huge problem. Yet they're not asking people who are experts of this how to help them. And so I appreciate you being here, Ms. Stimpley, and again, I appreciate the work you do. I'm just sorry you weren't more involved in this because the American people deserve every effort we have as a government to protect them. So I'll focus my questions on a different topic related to this. Ms. Correa, one of our colleagues earlier asked the question, what happens if we run a query about someone's citizenship and we determine that they are here illegally or an undocumented person? Would you tell me what happens at that point? Is any action taken, any enforcement action on that individual?
Thank you for your question, sir. Again, as I mentioned before, the way the process works is an individual who presents themselves to a benefit agency, a benefit granting agency, has to present information, documentation on their status, whether they're a citizenship or they attest, if you will, in their application as to whether or not they're a citizen. If they're not a citizen, then the information is processed as a query.
If I can interrupt real quick, so it's up to their own word as to whether they're a citizen or not? So they have to
when they apply for a benefit, they're filling out a form, and on that form they typically attest what their status is. Whether
so if they choose to mislead and say they are, there's no...
If the agency, the benefit granting agency, would then, if they attest that they are not a citizen, or if the Social Security Administration cannot confirm that they're a citizen, would then request their information and process a query through SAVE. SAVE would then go out and ping our databases to identify what the immigration status of that individual is. Typically, our response is either to give what the immigration status is, or if we cannot confirm the immigration status, then we prompt the agency to go through the additional verification steps. And as I described, the second step, they could provide additional information, other documentation, or other names that the individual may have used.
So at the end of the process, if you determine you can't verify they're a citizen, what happens then?
At that point, what we notify the agency to do is to tell this applicant to schedule an appointment with USCIS. We give them the pertinent information to come in and see us, because there could still be an error in their record. So what we do is try to have an appointment with them, come visit one of our adjudication officers, who would then look at their data and look up at their information in the records database. From a SAVE standpoint, we don't take any further action. In other words, we cannot change an individual's record. We do not tamper with the record at all whatsoever. We refer them to one of our adjudications officers, who would then look at the information.
So as my time's running out, so if someone, you can't verify they're a citizen, they don't come in to see you, that's it. We don't follow up, we don't enforce any
Not-
immigration law on this illegal person?
Not that I am aware, sir, but I could confirm that for you.
If you wouldn't mind, I'd appreciate that. Mr. Chairman, my time has expired. I will yield back.